accounted for.
All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today we have the invocation provided by Father Yarrick of St. Leo, the Great Catholic Church. Everyone please stand.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, esteemed council members, and all gathered here tonight. I'm Father Yarrick, pastor of St. Leo, the Great Catholic Church, a parish blessed to serve this vibrant community since its establishment in 1962. It's an honor to join you as we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the city of Bonita Springs incorporation, truly a milestone that reflects the dedication and vision of so many who have contributed to the growth and prosperity of this beautiful city. So now let us offer this prayer. Heavenly Father, we come before you in gratitude for the blessings you have poured out upon Bonita Springs over the past 25 years. We thank you for the men and women whose leadership, hard work, and care have built this community into a place of beauty, generosity, and shared purpose. Lord, we ask for your wisdom and guidance for our city leaders as they deliberate tonight. May their decisions reflect the values of justice, unity, and compassion, always seeking the common good. We pray for all the residents of Bonita Springs, that they may continue to work together to create a city where every person feels valued, supported, and safe. So as we reflect on the journey from this city's humble beginnings to the flourishing community we celebrate today, we trust in your continued presence and guidance. Bless our efforts to build a future filled with hope, opportunity, and peace. And we ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilmember Bogas.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Here.
Councilmember Carr.
Here.
Mayor Gibson.
Here.
Councilmember Corey.
Here.
Councilmember Fullick. Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Public comment on agenda items?
Good evening. For the record, Trish Leonard, business owner in Bonita Springs, resident of Bonita Springs. I just want to say congratulations on 25 years as a city. And I too have watched you grow as well in the council and the various mayors, city managers, and such. I'd also want to say thank you for the lighting up downtown. It is absolutely beautiful. And I want to say congratulations to Laura and the Parks folks who really put their heart and soul into the council. Thank you for keeping, there was a lot of people I know that came from Naples and Fort Myers and everywhere just to see our downtown. I hope you'll continue it for next year. You never go down once you go up, so make sure you keep that in your mind when you start looking at your numbers. And I think you'll see a lot of residents who said it was absolutely beautiful. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Alexander Grant, original incorporator of this city. And I'm also a member of the Historical Preservation Board for the city. I'm speaking on 9A about the protection of the 1927 elementary school on Dean Street. I attended the meeting together last week at the school board meeting in Fort Myers. And I did speak afterwards with the head of the school board management system. Together with Derek, we spoke for 10 minutes, etc., after the meeting. But anyway, in 1921, Mr. Heitman of Shangri-La built the Bonita Elementary School And it was, I believe the mortar was the very best mortar he used for the bricks in the 1921 school. In 1927, the city of Bonita Springs, we have to find out if it contributed any money to the two-story 1927 building. This was before the Great Depression. But however, supposedly the mortar that they used for the bricks was not as good as the 1921 building, less superior. And we have to find out if Lee County School Board contributed any money to the 1927 school, or if it all was county funds. In 1940, there was a connection between the 1921 building and the 1927 building. And since that was during the Great Depression under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, I am suspecting that the Works Progress Administration funded the money for that joining the 1921 and 1927 school. We'll have to find that out. In 1999, there was an architectural firm, Parker, Mudgett, and Smith, and if you're familiar with the amphitheater we have on Riverside Drive, they were the people that designed that for us at Riverside Park. And I was on the city council at that time. And, well, not in 1999, but when they did that. But anyway, so we have to find out if they were the ones, the consultants that pushed for the U.S. Department of Interior to put those two schools on 1921, 1927 as part of being on the National Historic Reservoir. Okay, that's my, I had another comment, but that's for future reference.
Thank you, Alex.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Hines. I'm the program director for the Florida Gulf Coast Trail, the Trust of Public Land, and I just wanted to come here tonight and introduce myself to the new members, put a face with a name, and say, you know, we're working closely with your staff to move the Burt Trail forward, which is a big part and would be an exceptional part to the Florida Gulf Coast Trail. And I appreciate your all's resolution in support of that, and then also fully support the Sun Trail for state funding application that's forthcoming. So please feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions. This is a great project and look forward to continuing working with you over the next couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Next we have presentations. The proclamation to read. So, whereas 25 years ago in 1999, community-minded residents proudly voted in favor of incorporation, and the city of Bonita Springs was born, with the preamble of the city charter proclaiming, "We, the people of Bonita Springs community, by the grace of God and pursuant to the authority granted by the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of the state of Florida, in order to secure the benefits of local self-government and otherwise to promote the common welfare of all citizens, do hereby ordain and establish this charter for the city of Bonita Springs. And whereas today, as we celebrate the 25th anniversary of incorporation, the city of Bonita Springs stands as a vibrant and prosperous community, with small-town charm and a big, bright future, regarded by many as the greatest place in America to live, work, play, and visit. With beautiful parks and beaches, recreational programs for all ages, a picturesque historic downtown, multinational corporations, and family-owned businesses, beautiful homes and neighborhoods, a community-oriented residents who share a common vision, and whereas our city's 25th anniversary marks a significant milestone that has provided a year-long opportunity for our community to come together in celebration to reflect on our collective achievements, shared pride, and optimism for the future. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Mike Gibson, on behalf of the City Council and all past mayors and City Council members, do hereby recognize the 25th anniversary of our city's incorporation and acknowledge past and present residents, City Council members, staff, and volunteers for their tremendous contributions over the past 25 years in building a strong, successful, resilient, prosperous, and a beautiful city. Done and ordered this 18th day of December 2024. Mike Gibson, Mayor, City of Bonita Springs. Thank you. Next, we have the presentation of the award certificates to the winners of the City of Bonita Springs 25th Anniversary Photo Contest. If you guys will come forward. Thank you, Edwin. The city would like to present this certificate to Edwin Carsalio in recognition of your winning entry in the City of Bonita Springs 25th Anniversary Photo Contest.
Mayor, let him hold the certificate, Mayor.
It was the one with the green, just all green, with the guy in the back.
That's way better. Anyone else here from the photo contest? All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
I'd like to
Second.
pull K
Okay,
just for correction.
okay. So pulling K. Do we have a second for the rest?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick. Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Okay, so item K.
Just a correction on item K, the second line should be researching cell service providers instead of internet providers. This is what the technology board is going to undertake, is trying to improve cell service in the city.
Okay. So,
We'll make that correction. We'll make that correction and
okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick. Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
All right, presentations. We have a presentation from RVI Planning and Landscape Architecture for the design plan of the Riverside Park Bandshell Turf and Hardscape Project.
Hello, Mayor and Council members. Nicole Perino, Parks and Recreation Director. I would like to introduce Will Hellman from RVI Planning and Landscape Architecture. As you all know, we have been working on a design plan for the bandshell, it's a long name, artificial turf, basically turf and hardscape project. So I'd like to introduce Will to go ahead and present the final design plan that we have.
Good evening, Council and Ms. Mayor. My name is Will Hellman. I'm a Senior Project Manager with RVI Planning and Landscape Architecture with the office located here in Bonita Springs. This evening, I'm here to present to you the latest iteration of the Riverside Park bandshell renovation, which is focused on the replacement of the existing lawn as well as hardscape improvements. The goals of this renovation are to improve the functional use of the spaces for both the city's large events and its day-to-day use as a park, improve ADA accessibility and pedestrian circulation, improve safety and security, refresh the aesthetics of the park to match the Old 41 improvements in the general character of downtown Bonita Springs, preserve the existing memorial and art installation elements, and future-proof the underground utilities to help the park adapt to an evolving future of technology and uses. Starting with this slide, this is an aerial from late last year of the park, and we really began our design process with an inventory of the existing conditions of the park as well as the broader area of downtown Bonita Springs. In addition to that, we looked at comparable parks throughout Southwest Florida, such as the Veterans Memorial Park in Marco, Cambier Park in Naples, Calusa Sound Amphitheater, a new park in Fort Myers, as well as looked at national park trends to see where Bonita Springs fits in and what we can do to this park to really set it apart and make it continue to be such a special part of downtown. It's maybe a little difficult to see on the screen. The green circles represent existing elements in the park, such as the archway along Old US 41. There is a memorial tree that has been planted there. The famous art sculpture that I can never remember the name of. Setting the Pace. The large live oak that everyone battles for a seat under to get a nice shady spot during a concert. And of course, the Veterans Memorial and the POW MIA flag and memorial plaque. Everything in blue are existing elements in the park that are either going to be relocated within the park or are going to be removed and replaced with a new element of the park. The park Riverside Park expands beyond what we're looking at here. This project is specifically focused on the bandshell and the area immediately adjacent next to it. Going to the conceptual site plan, you'll immediately recognize the bandshell is still in its current location. It's recently undergone complete renovation of the restroom and changing room facilities, which look really nice. The rest of the bandshell is in excellent condition and is going to remain where it's at. The primary improvement that you'll see on this is there's now a very defined lawn space, event lawn space. And rather than a turf grass, we are proposing a synthetic turf product that has a longer lifespan, a significantly longer lifespan than the turf grass that's currently being used in the park, and offers quite a few advantages, most particularly ADA accessibility. Defining the boundary of that event lawn in the kind of represented in gray are concrete pavers, a decorative paver. So rather than just creating a park out of concrete, we wanted to utilize pavers that are used elsewhere in other parks within the city of Bonita Springs to create just a different atmosphere for the park. The organic design and layout of those pavers is for aesthetic purposes, but also for circulation. The park, as it is currently configured, you can't get from one side of the park to the other side of the park in an ADA accessible route. You have to go all the way around. So we really wanted to create a design where you can stay on a hardscape surface to get anywhere in the park without having to cut through landscape or a sodded area. Another advantage of this design is it provides additional seating opportunities. While a lot of those areas are currently sod or mulch areas, with the pavers, it provides additional opportunities for ADA seating, such as wheelchairs or individuals who may not be comfortable taking a walker or cane or another assistance device across the turf grass. One major element you'll see not in there is the other oak tree that's in the lawn. We know that is another spot that is always a competition to get a nice seat under for a concert. It does, however, obstruct a lot of views for the people that are further back in the park. Rather than remove it, we have relocated it to the north side of the park, which is the left side of the concept, and it kind of fills in a gap between two current oak trees and replaces one of the existing shade structures. To the south and southwest, the right side and bottom right, you'll see a lot more of a tree canopy that's currently not existing. The live oak is a classic tree in the city of Bonita Springs. You can find it up and down all of the side streets and along the old 41 corridor, and it's an incredible tree in terms of providing shade and preserving the character of downtown Bonita Springs. Pulling in that extra canopy in place of some of the smaller palms there, as these trees mature, will provide not only a backdrop that kind of encloses and creates a special space for the park, but significantly more opportunities for seating in the shade during different times of the day. Also preserved in an element, in a sense, is the Veterans Memorial Walk, which is the partial arch that currently goes through the park. We've taken that original routing, tightened up the radius a little bit, and have pushed it all the way through the park. A great part of this is it now provides direct ADA access to the Veterans Memorial, as well as additional areas that are accessible to sit on a bench under a tree or under a shade structure and appreciate the memorial. This pass-through is multi-purpose. It serves as the Veterans Memorial Walk and will still be sleeved to accommodate the flags that are set up for holidays such as Veterans Day and Memorial Day. It's also going to be wider than it's currently configured, which will allow a flexible use of the space during anywhere from small-scale to large-scale events. Uses of that space would primarily be primary circulation, moving from east to west, but also as a space for vendors to set up, whether it's the art show or the Star Spangled Bonita or Holiday in the Park. It gives a more durable and safely accessible location as a potential spot for vendors to set up. Moving on to the parking lot, we're not really reconfiguring the parking lot, but if you're familiar with downtown Bonita Springs, the side streets, when the old 41 improvements were made, the parking was turned into decorative pavers. And it's a really nice element in downtown that adds that character. And we thought that would be nice to pull into the park and tie into the rest of the downtown area. Generally speaking, all of the sidewalks and pathways within the park have been widened to allow for better two-way traffic. As you know, if you've attended an event there, getting over to the restroom facilities can sometimes be a challenge. So improving access to that was a primary goal. And I've talked a lot about events, but if you go there at any time during the day, on any weekday, you're going to see a wide range of users, whether it's a family with a blanket out playing on the grass, someone on their lunch break eating a sandwich, catching up on the news, or a resident just who found a shady spot to read a book. We absolutely did not want to lose this aspect of the park, and if anything, we wanted to improve, create new areas within the park to do that. So it's a little difficult to see in this conceptual rendering, but underneath all of the oak tree canopies are pocketed areas of seating. So whether you want to sit on a bench by yourself or sit at a table with a group of friends, there's going to be a wide range of seating opportunities that are both shaded and non-shaded within the park. The other improvements to the park that are a major improvement that aren't necessarily visible in a conceptual rendering like this are the electrical and digital and just kind of innovation improvements to the park, such as event lighting and pedestrian scale lighting. So the park does not currently have pedestrian lighting, which would be bollard or pathway lighting that we're proposing to keep the park lit up at night for both the safety of people that might be navigating through the park as well as a crime deterrent. Also, as you can see right now, if you visit the park, the incredible holiday light display, we are going to increase the frequency and location of outlets, outlet receptacles, to not have to run extension cords all over the place. And the Holiday in the Park is one great example of that, but any of the events that go on there, there's just gonna be a lot more access to power that will limit the use of extension cords crossing pedestrian circulation areas. And another component of that is being able, there's going to be a lot of stuff hidden under the turf grass, whether it's power sources, data cables for concerts, or sleeving to allow for the flexible setup of tents and anything that might be necessary for any number of events that the park's currently being used for or may be used for in the future. Stepping back a little bit in the design process, how we got to this design, the city brought this project to us, and we had several meetings, both in person at the city as well as on site at the park with city staff to discuss how the park is, the current shape of the park, how it's functioning, and also the city's goals. What kind of improvements do they want to see? We also met with the Veterans Advisory Committee because there are memorial elements in the park to ensure that we're maintaining and improving that memorial element, as well as the city's special event committee to make sure that we're designing this park in a way that services the events that the city holds here, as well as events that the city and private entities can hold in the future. Go to comments or questions. I'm happy to answer any question you have. I can go back to the concept plan.
Council, any questions? And remember, we do have the buttons working again.
Well, hurrah.
Yeah, great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nigel?
Great job again. Enjoyed your first presentation. This was even better. The flags, which you and I talked about for the veterans who are very interested in this, will we have an idea of how many more flags we'll be able to put in the walkway?
Yes, sir. We can provide you with an exact count of however many you want, we can fit in. It's a good amount of space compared to what you have now.
Well, they did sure they've got to put them up, but they've also got to take them down.
Yeah.
But do you think we could double the amount?
I think we could double
There's
the
100 there now.
Yes.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And pull your microphone up a little bit more.
My apologies.
Chris?
Just a question in terms of accessibility for especially our disabled veterans and so forth, disabled people that utilize the park. I would think, I just want to confirm that the additional use of pavers and the synthetic grass and so forth altogether make it more, at least better accessibility for people who are disabled.
Yes, sir, absolutely. All of the proposed materials will meet or exceed the American Disabilities Act's requirements.
Okay, I just wanted to emphasize that that was part of the planning process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Arlene, did you have something?
I just wanted to clarify that today, all we're asking from council for your decision is to approve the plan. We do still have to come back with a proposal for contract and final cost estimate. So if this is the direction you like to go, that would be the next steps, and those would be items we bring forward. We also anticipate that we would need a budget transfer, as the original anticipation was just to look into the turf, but as we explored the project further, and as we're trying to make all of our facilities ADA accessible, these were some improvements that we felt was the appropriate time to bring forward for your consideration. Additionally, in timing of the budget, we would have a very tight schedule of accommodating already the existing special events. So if should council want to move forward, the plan would be to have somewhat of a hard stop around May to begin construction, then reopen for just the 4th of July in a phase 1, and then close again until October, pending no storm delays.
Okay. Any other questions?
I was just going to ask, Arlene, when we talked about this, I think it's important that the public knows, by combining this in upgrading facilities and doing this project, we're going to save hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, we're trying to look at how this, as council had previously approved and is in the budget, to look at the banyan tree parcel. Soon you'll be having some plans for that as well. So we'll look at how we can accommodate those projects at the time so that we're not as disruptive to the business owners downtown, but additionally accommodating the already scheduled events.
I just had one observation that I didn't notice the other day. Taking out the structures that are currently there, the little pavilions, they provide cover from the rain. We get a lot of rain in the summer. And I know we're going for shade with the trees, but that's not really going to help with the rain. So is there something we can look at to?
Absolutely, and let's see if I can go back. I can't really zoom in, but on the bottom right, the southern portion and the southwest portion, I believe there are 5 proposed shade sail type shade structures. So that's the stretch tensioned fabric that we can explore the sizes of that to kind of maximize that protection.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were going to be impervious to the rain or not.
They
a
shed,
lot of the ones
they
I've
shed
seen have
water.
kind
Yes.
of been like a mesh, but okay. All right. Yeah, that was my only thought. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to move forward?
Do we need?
Yes, I think we've been asking for a motion to approve the concept with the understanding we're going to come back with proposals and potential contracts and potential budget transfer. But
Second.
Roll call? Or actually, we got to wait.
Are we waiting?
we could start.
Well, we can't
Oh,
take a vote without
Jesse.
somebody.
He'll be
Unless he's
back, right?
gone, but.
Oh, okay.
I know he's coming back.
I guess we could do our vote and then just wait for him to
Yeah.
do his fun.
Councilmember Carr,
Aye.
Mayor Gibson,
Aye.
Councilmember Corey,
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick,
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas,
Aye. I told you he'd be back.
Can you say that louder, Jesse?
Good timing.
All right. Then we will move on to Item B. Councilmember Corey. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait.
Yeah, item A. Mayor and council member items.
I was going to say, fairly interesting.
Oh,
So, Councilmember Fullick.
So if you'll indulge me, as all of you know, as a council, you asked me to represent you 2 weeks ago at the school board meeting, and this is in reference to our Bonita Springs Elementary School. I really want to thank Councilwoman Bogatz, Councilman Purdon, and Councilman Fitzpatrick, who actually took the trip up there, and although they couldn't speak because of the Sunshine Law, were there and supported me throughout. One of the things that I did notice right away was after the meeting, we had 3 minutes. And after we left the room, the school board chair, Mr. Fisher, made a comment that he wasn't sure where the confusion was, that their staff had actually been working with our staff and with us, and they would reach out shortly thereafter. So for the record, has anybody on our council had anyone reach out to them from the school board? Before today? No. Jesse?
I did get a Christmas card from Denise Carlin, and I mean, I have one thing on my list. I'm not sure if we're gonna get it or not, but other
But
than that.
if anybody, just in the benefit of time, no one on our council has been reached out to by the staff or by the board members of the school board. That being said, in the interim, we reached out ourselves, some of us. I know I did. Anybody else reach out to a member of the school board or the superintendent?
Superintendent to be. I reached out to Diane.
Denise.
Denise, I'm sorry.
She is the superintendent.
Yes, but at the time she was elect, so she wasn't in the role. And I met with.
Was this prior to the school board meeting 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Okay, so in the
I'm
2
just
weeks,
saying.
I'm asking, in the 2 weeks, has anybody actually reached out to a school board member?
I have, yes, Dr. Carlin.
Did you get a response prior to today?
I got a response today when I arrived here.
Jamie? Or Jesse, I'm sorry.
I purposefully wanted to, and there was a media story I didn't comment on also because I wanted to give them ample time to respond to us before I sounded like I was complaining. So
Understood.
I've left them alone in hopes that they would do the right thing.
Laura, you've had no contact with anyone?
None.
Mayor Gibson?
Is Sam Fisher? Is that?
Yes, he's the chair.
Yeah, and I did speak with him. I forget if it was between being sworn in and elected, or it was a while ago. But
So, but not post-board meeting 2
no,
weeks ago?
not post board meeting.
Chris?
I've never heard from anybody from the school board.
No.
All right, so that everyone is aware, no one's reached out to us from staff or the school board. I reached out because it was appropriate, and today I did get a call back from Bill Ribble. And I'd like to say that Bill was very open to resolving what they understand as an issue. But the two things that really struck me today were that he is under the impression that we as a council were suing the school board. Now, unless I missed something at the last meeting, does anybody remember a motion that we were going to sue the school board?
No, I mean, I'm not above making the motion if they decide not to have the conversation with us.
We've got our city attorney here, and who's next on the agenda, but we never made a motion like that. We didn't anything threatening. We asked for a public workshop. That didn't happen either. The second thing that really struck me was Mr. Ribble was under the impression that sometime within the last 72 hours, the school board attorney was in conversation with our counsel, Mr. Rooney, over this matter, and that was the reason that nobody on the school board was talking to us or responding to us. I talked to Mr. Rooney today, and he usually remembers every conversation he has. Have you had any discussions with the school board attorney, Mr. Rooney?
I have not had any conversations with
Okay, so here's my takeaway. I'm pretty blunt. Somebody on their staff is either giving misinformation or outright lying to members of the school board. That's a problem of theirs. I know Bill's watching our meeting tonight, and I'm sure he'll be taking great interest in that, but the misinformation is one way, and it's coming from the school board to us. That being said, where we are right now is someone on the school board or their staff thinks that a memorial plaque or some kind of memorial will suffice to designate our school. I informed him that at no time have we ever said that we want them to rebuild the school. I informed him that we know that it would be fruitless and a waste of money, probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 22 million. They have this $10 million figure. I don't know where you build a school today for $10 million. But they're not getting the right information from their staff. So once again, I reiterated that all we were asking for them to do was to recreate the facade, which can be done for certainly way less than $1 million, of the old school building that incorporates the Bonita Springs Elementary School. We all know what we're talking about here. And I apologize. I don't know what the terminology for that would be, Matt, but it's the flat concrete piece that says Bonita Springs Elementary School, and it's got 1921 under it.
I'd call it a moniker, but I would defer to Arlene or John.
Either way, it's not a big ask. It would not take a lot of money. We know the building is in such disrepair now that we've seen the engineering studies. Apparently some of their folks have not. Can't be repaired, and it wouldn't be appropriate to rebuild it because the kids deserve a great school. But again, we're only asking for them to recreate the facade so when you drive up, you know what that building used to look like. It's basically that. I could point behind Mayor Gibson, and that's all we're asking them to recreate. We're talking, I won't put out numbers because I don't have them, certainly less than $1 million. We sat in the meeting and listened to a board member talk about they wanted specific colors on a new high school that would represent hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's not translating, guys. They're not listening to us, they're not hearing us, and I know Mr. Rooney shared that there is a governmental dispute resolution that could be utilized, but we, since May of this year, have said we're willing to sit down and talk. We understand we don't want to penalize our kids. We don't want to slow down building that school, but at the same time, it's a one-way street on communication. The last thing I'd leave you with is I appreciate the fact that 3 members of the Historical Society and 1 member of the Historic Preservation Board were in attendance at the meeting. A very different message went out from the Historical Society, and unfortunately he's not here tonight, but I'm going to ask the Historical Society to cease and desist in asking the school board to sell us the building, turn it into a museum or a welcome center. That space is needed for a school, and it sends a mixed message. So this council, as far as I know from our conversations, we're not asking to buy that building. We don't have the money for it because they're not offering to sell it to begin with. And we need to be communicating as one entity. And I'd ask the Historical Society, which is a private entity, to allow this council and our staff to communicate with the school board if we're going to get anything done. That long dissertation out of the way, any questions that anyone has?
Is anybody from the Historical Society here?
I don't believe so. And I don't think Mr. Grant's here, but, or yes, Alex is here, but he represented the, our Historical Preservation Board.
Jesse, you were also on that one?
Right. I think I'm trying to be optimistic that new leadership will take this opportunity and have the appropriate discussion with us. Because, as you've stated, we have a way to force the conversation. I don't necessarily want to force the conversation, but I'm absolutely not opposed. I'm not above forcing the conversation. I'm not above us filing a lawsuit. I'm not above that if you don't want to have the appropriate conversation with us. As far as, the preservation of building 1 and 2, very important. I think, this building has been in bad shape for a very long time. It's been under their control. They're getting 2 forms of taxes from the citizens of Bonita Springs, and they've been derelict on their duties. So now, we are where we are due to their lack of management. However, it's also an opportunity for new leadership because this was done under previous leadership. So now I think is a great opportunity for us to move forward with them in a united front and correcting the errors of the past and allowing us to remember the piece of our history that we have left there.
Jesse, I agree, but the other thing that really bothers me is the fact that I think the board, to give them any sort of credit, is they're not getting the right information. They're being told something that's absolutely not true. And to your point, we don't want to get into litigation with the school board.
Yep.
And what we're asking for, we can't rebuild it, we know that, but what we're asking asking for is nowhere near what their
And I think,
perception is.
well, and I think there is a hybrid model of what the rebuild looks like. I mean, we can take care of building 1 and 2, and they can still do the building that they wanted to do. I think I think the number that they come up with for the 10 is they're saying 30 for their new school plus 10 to fix whatever this is to try to keep it. It's too high of a number in my opinion.
And I would dare them to come up with an actual estimate from a contractor, because somebody just found that number somewhere and it sounded convenient. Because people that I've talked to, as far as doing the facade and incorporating it, it's more in the neighborhood of 4 to 7 million if they were to recreate the footprint of the original 2 buildings. So that $10 million, I think somebody just said, roughly, but do the math. The building's it's just less than 10,000 square feet.
I'm confident that number came from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Chris?
Well, it seems to me that we have leverage in this thing, because while the school district operates its own building department, it's my understanding that they still need permits from the city of Bonita Springs for the actual construction. Well, it's my understanding they must adhere to the city's permitting process, including submitting detailed plans, obtaining necessary approvals, and ensuring compliance with applicable local regulations. And so, yeah, they've got their building permit, their building department, but they still have to, and John, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there are still permits that need to be obtained from community development with respect to the building itself. I mean, we're a partner in this with respect to safety regulations, fire code compliance, and so forth. Is that not correct?
They need a demo from the state too, which is an option. We could reach out to the department that sanctions the demo, and we could. I mean, that's another way to look at that too.
Jesse, thanks for bringing that up. John, give me 1 second here. I did ask that question. They apparently had already reached out in May for demolishing an historically designated site, and the use, or what they used as excuse was the fact that the building could not be rehabilitated, which is true.
It's funny because at that point they didn't even have any of the numbers. They didn't have any of the stuff from contractors saying how they didn't have anything to prove that it was not doable at that point, because when we met with them, not only did they know it's not historical, but they had no bids they had nothing to base the numbers on.
The school board members didn't, but it seems that staff had enough that they'd already taken the preemptive strike of reaching out, how do we demolish a historically designated building? Again, this goes back to someone on their staff or someone's on their staff are not being transparent with the board or with us. So they knew about this when they had their meeting in May with the parents and not us. Again, for those of you that don't know, they never contacted us about the meeting where they told the parents at the school they were tearing it down. We found out the next day by somebody calling me and saying, why is our city council allowing you or allowing them to tear down the school? That was the first notice we got. John, I'm going to ask you, when were you contacted by the school board?
Oh, gosh. I think about the same time you were.
May. Any contact since?
Around there, but I don't, there's been.
Prior to that, no, there has been conversations about the reconstruction of the school, not the detailed demolition.
Not demolition.
No.
And that there was discussion on how the children would be accommodated during any renovations and relocation, and staff voiced their concerns at that time and briefed council on the comments we received. And then additionally, there was some outreach regarding the adjacent parcel that the city has, which the council did agree to work with them on for staging so that the students could be accommodated during construction in the current location.
And for the record, because stated before, former board member Kathleen Morgan, in May, when I spoke to her, admitted, and she said, the decision has already been made. The school's coming down. If you want to blame anybody, blame me because I'm terming out. Not a responsible thing to say, but that's probably the most transparent thing that we've heard from the board so far, which is they've made the decision to tear down the school.
Would you all be supportive in the idea of us having Derek put a letter together to the appropriate state entity in opposition to the destruction of the building? If anything, I mean, if at a minimum, it gets their attention to have the conversation that we're trying to compel, and at best, it slows things down until we get to a better resolution than we currently
It's a possibility, but let's, Chris was talking, you'd asked John a question, so let's just get back to that.
They need a development order. They need to show how they're mitigating impacts to the neighborhood and community.
So, and I'll, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, I chime in a little bit here. So the issue is, they have their own building code and their own process for capital improvements that goes through the state. Although not particularly well tested in courts, seems it's clear that land development, zoning, all those rules apply to the school as they do to any other developer. There is an open question about certain other issues like historical preservation, code enforcement, demolition by neglect. If there was any litigation, that would probably be the point of litigation, to determine whose rights apply and what are the standards to be applied. And that is precisely why I've raised the issue of the intergovernmental dispute resolution, because that period of time in which that question would be before a court, or there would be an additional delay, the building would not be salvaged in that time, and there would be additional delay before any improvements to the school. And so that's the reason the legislature created the process, to prevent local governments from fighting with each other, spending resources on each other. It seems to me that if that is the path that the city would like to do, I would prepare a resolution for consideration in January. That would be adopted, it gets forward to the school, and then begins the process. In the intervening time, I would say that, given that you've had at least one school board member reached out, and that particular school board member, former mayor of the village of Estero, clearly very cognizant of the issues that local governments face, maybe that is the appropriate attempt to get a liaison, if he's watching too, to try to bridge the gap. Because it seems to me that throughout this entire process, the issue has been a lack of communication between the decision makers, whether it's been intervening third parties in the community that have confused the message, or whether it's been staff issues. The issue seems to be that the council and the board are not talking, and that's what needs to happen. And so I think the first step is to try to encourage that liaison relationship, which is what the council has done. And if that does not happen before your meeting in January, I'll prepare the resolution and we can proceed going forward in that manner. It would not be litigation, it would be dispute resolution, it'd be alternative dispute resolution.
But let me just understand though, I mean, when you say they need a land development order, that says that community development would review the plans and make sure that it complies with the land development order regulations within the city. And, so it's not like they can just knock everything down and start construction without getting approvals through the permitting process. Is that the way I'm understanding?
They would still need to get approvals through the city's permitting process, and that could include such things as architectural standards. But again, the standards would be, do they meet the letter of the code or not? That doesn't necessarily address this particular issue. So this is as far as I understand from our previous conversations with the school board, this is a constrained site. It's a fairly small site. The earliest conversations Arlene and myself have had with them was actual trying to seek cooperation to use some city land nearby to help them do the staging. So it seems to me that there is a beneficial pathway forward, and if communications don't continue along that positive path, it's just unnecessary delay and causing problems for both entities. It really does need to be, seems that it is ripe to be resolved if the right people are talking.
Well, Chris brought this up, but I want to ask a question that dovetails on. Do they need a permit to demolish the building?
Yes, from the state. There's a state permit that they have to get because it's historical designation.
We have no control over it.
No, that's why I'm saying we need to reach out to that entity and appeal to them to not let them get that permit.
Well, just let me read this. I'm just reading it from ChatGPT. In May of 2024, the Lee County School Board approved a plan to renovate the Bonita Springs Elementary campus, which includes demolishing and rebuilding several structures. They received state permission to tear down and rebuild 4 structures, including the historically designated main building. The new main building is planned to resemble the original, with construction expected to start in the summer of '24. So, and conclude by August of '27. So evidently the state has done something already.
Okay, so
And I wonder if the state did not say that they had to rebuild something along the same line. I'm just trying to get information as to what it is the state's approved.
Jim's next and then Laura.
Well, first I'd like to go ahead and thank Nigel for spearheading this whole dialogue. And I'd also like to thank Gary Price for him making the trek up and spending a couple minutes in front of the school board. I really do appreciate that. I was a little bit disappointed by the lack of engagement by some of the community at the school board. But I think from my own position, I'd like to find a cleanest way as quick as possible regarding the integration of the facade of Building 1 into the structure. Because right now, my biggest concern is about the kids. And the longer we protract this, the longer we're going to keep those kids in modular classrooms and administrative staff in modular facilities. And this has been going on too long. Hopefully this gets them off the dime that there's some middle ground here. But to drag this out another 6-9 months, I do not think that's in the best interest of our parents, our students that utilize that facility.
Thank you. Laura?
Actually, I was going to echo what Jim just said, that I think we need to focus on, instead of barking at the moon, they've made their decision. They ignored the building for, what,
5 years.
Right? And they let the mold grow, so it isn't practical to keep it. So we have to part. And maybe this conversation would have been helpful 5 years ago to say, hey, but you know, it's a separate entity. And I think that, like Jim said, we need to focus on the kids. I mean, they have to be in school and in a safe environment, and they've missed enough with COVID and all the nonsense that went on, missing school. Get them back into school, get them into a high-tech, all right, we get a plaque. Honestly, I think that the kids come before the notion of having a historic preservation built, you know, historically preserved building in Bonita Springs. So,
Jamie, did you have anything?
Yeah, just a few things. To feed off of what Laura just said, I agree that the children should come first, and but there's no reason why this can't proceed quickly. We have new members. They've reached out, finally. I've had contact. To full transparency, Dr. Carlin actually gave me a few times to be able to speak with her tomorrow. I'm not the liaison, so you know, council have to let me know if that's how you want me to proceed with that or what you would like me to do. But I think in no way, shape, or form should we allow a plaque. I think we need to continue pressing on, and there's no reason why this can't be done quickly if we continue the way we're going right now.
Jesse?
Yes, so a couple things. Number one, I think I'd like to figure out, you know, just from a staff perspective, where they're at in the process as far as the state permit goes, but not to harp on the permit, but if there's still a component of the state where we can complain to that entity, if that's still an available option, I think that's a good one. Number two, the children absolutely should go first. So no way in I don't know if anybody ever got confused, but nowhere during the process has anybody ever said anything about the children not being the main priority. It had to do with the dereliction of duty on behalf of the school board and the horrible management that they had in regards to the building. But I think the idea has always been to make sure they get a world-class school, which is what we do want. We want to make sure that we get an appropriate deal for our citizens and make sure that the city holds the county school board accountable here, and we don't just roll over and take it because, well, it's too late. I don't believe in that. I don't think anything great was ever accomplished that way. So I think we fight until there's no reason to fight. Once we see that, then we can have a talk, but I don't think we're there yet.
Mr. Mayor? If I may, last comment. I'm going to disagree with Councilwoman Carr because we never asked them to rebuild the school. As a council, we agreed it's past that. That's all we're asking them to recreate is that. And we're talking architects just redesigning the part of the south end of the building. That's all we're asking. We don't want something that is a semblance. If they're going to go with a semblance, they can go with a replica because that's all it is a facade. And again, I don't want to send that mixed message that we as a council have ever said, rebuild the school. I'd love to see some, and we're elected officials, we're holding somebody else accountable for giving us bad information and failing to maintain a public structure that was designated historically. They don't have to put a marker there. There's a marker that's been there since 2009 that Ben Nelson, and you were there, Arlene. There's a marker there. There's a historical marker. We don't need that. That's all we want. And I'd hate to say that the only thing we have left of your elementary school, Jamie, is a picture.
Is that what council as a whole is agreed upon, is just a facade?
Yes.
Right, well, then I would assume that all of us could speak to whoever we want as long as we're towing the same message, so.
Okay.
Correct?
No issues here.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now we can move on to item B.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that one is Councilmember Corey.
All right, some time ago, there was a desire on the part of the Technology Committee to improve the height of cell towers, to be able to have taller cell towers in Bonita Springs and have those approved administratively such that we could improve the cell service that carriers were able to provide in the city. There was a lot of discussion at the technology board level about trying to revise certain other aspects of cell tower construction, blah, blah, blah. That never really entered into the final decision to ask for an increase in the height of the cell towers. I had thought we had approved that increase in height some time ago, but I found out that I was mistaken. And so I've talked to the chairman of the technology committee. We've gone back through our notes and our minutes and so forth. And so there's, he is pushing me to ask council just to raise the height of the cell towers so that we can go out and improve cell service. All the other noise around rewriting, our language in our code to match the FCC, let's set that aside. All we want is to be able to have carriers put in cell towers and we can approve those administratively. So that's what it's about.
I was under the opinion that we had done that over 2 years ago also, so I'm fine with it. But Nigel, you're the first on the, you hit the button? You wanted to speak?
Oh, no, I thought I turned it off. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, no, yeah, you don't have to turn them off. I turn them off over here.
Gotcha.
So Jim, you're up then.
Well, my only real question is in the discussion there of, I'm just technologically challenged sometimes, and I just wanted clarification when you refer to a stealth cell tower. Do we have any definition of what that is?
Camouflaged.
Well, yeah, like 200-foot.
Do we have any in town? Do we have any in town?
They look like trees.
Where are you reading stealth?
Where's my stealth thing?
It was somewhere in the packet because I'd seen it.
It basically says in land uses,
Well, there is no such thing as a stealth cell tower.
They're more camouflaged than.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, now, Mike is walking up, maybe I'm.
Yeah, it's the last sentence of the next to last paragraph, you know. Furthermore, towers in center certain districts such as DR, GR, environmentally critical zones, et cetera.
Mike, could you clarify?
Sure, I could. Mike Fegon with Community Development for the record, and I was one of the staff members that was responsible for one of the previous rewrites of the cell tower code back in 2015. So the way your code classifies it is the height is based on the type of tower that's proposed to be constructed. The thought being that some towers have greater visual impact than others. So stealth is actually the terminology that you're probably familiar with, which is it is designed to look like something else. So when you drive by, you don't necessarily see it as a cell tower. An example could be one that looks like a flagpole, or one that is on top of a church steeple that's designed to look like part of the church architecture, things like that. So those would be examples of stealth towers.
Do we have one in town?
We do have a flagpole, a stealth flagpole, and then we also have several towers that are camouflaged into existing multifamily buildings.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Laura?
Well, you're asking, Chris, if I understand this, that you want to reduce right now, 125 feet radius is required for a tower, right? And you want to reduce it to only 100 feet?
Where are you getting that, Laura?
The key amendments discussed include adjusting to the application, the second paragraph.
125 feet in height to be reviewed administratively without requiring special hearing or exception in all land use categories. So, you know, the way they build towers anymore, if there's a hurricane or whatever, they break apart in sections. And so, you know, it's not like you need 150 foot or
So
100.
that any tower that went in would automatically destruct.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, you know, and everybody knows that they don't then push a button and it reconfigures. It's gone.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Arlene?
And the city won't be culpable in any damage done because of any?
well, community development will look at the plans and will administratively approve what the construction looks like. So we've got that as a safeguard. All we're trying to do is get cell towers higher up in the air to improve cell service.
Yeah. Arlene?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify as what we had understood is, yes, that there was a discussion and there was a presentation previously to council. That was brought back to the Technology Advisory Committee, and then it was brought forward to the local planning agency, which does review these ordinances. The Technology Committee at that time asked to review it again, and we have minutes showing that there were several discussions, and that's what Councilmember Corr is referring to, is there was even further revisions that the committee as a whole was looking at. And I think what I understand now is the direction is, the reason we're having this under this item for discussion is the chair has specifically spoken to the liaison. Can we just move forward with the one item? And so I think we just wanted to make sure, because it was different recommendations, that we had the full direction of council on the item.
And just from a logistical standpoint, I pressed the button.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Just from a logistical standpoint, just to understand it, my understanding is there's some places who build their own towers, and there's some places that work in conjunction with carriers through their municipality. What will be the process to figure out which carrier, and do they have a specific vendor that they prefer for their towers that we would use? Do we build them on our own? Like, how does any of that even look?
No, we're not building the towers. We're just allowing the carriers who want to improve cell service to construct towers up to 125 feet.
Do we know which vendors, and will we be meeting with multiple? I'm curious because I want to see if a city that's done this the right way, that actually you can actually use your cell phone, what are they, who are they contracting with, and what does that deal look like logistically with the city and the carrier? Like, are we, I mean, is that a couple meetings down the road, or?
That's a couple meetings down the road you know, we would be talking to Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, to see, you know, to advise them that these towers can now be 125 feet, and what are their plans? We're trying to improve cell service. What else do they need?
Right.
If we allow the towers to go up that high, is there anything else they need to, from our standpoint, to improve cell service?
And then just, I'm from a curiosity standpoint, because I don't know. Obviously, I mean, there's some benefit to them, but like, so would we end up in a contractual agreement that?
I think you're getting
Okay.
much further ahead. But, Arlene?
If I can clarify, I think you're talking about the separate issue, which was we had a resolution that we approved by consent agenda that authorized a technology committee to start seeking out an opportunity to attract more vendors. That could also be done, what you're referring to, on city-owned property. That would all have to come back to city council to review. There's a potential for requests for proposals, or if there's an opportunity for a vendor to make a direct offer to the city on city property, that's a separate issue. What the Technology Advisory Committee separately of that had been discussing was changes to Land Development Code so that these taller towers could be approved administratively without a public hearing, except for the DRG that Councilman Fitzpatrick mentioned, unless it's designed in the downtown, certain specific locations, so that you would avoid the public hearing process for the 125 feet process, and that's the difference. But I think you have two simultaneous projects going forward in the goal of increasing cell service. One would be the code change, and then two, authorizing the Technology Advisory Committee to work on the city's behalf to figure out outreach and to figure out if there's any proposals. It's also an opportunity discussed as there would be revenue on the city-owned property as well, something to that. Would it all come back to council for approval?
Okay. So two paths is good because we're moving faster. I just don't, because I know the committee only meets once quarterly, so I don't want to be in a scenario where we're, a year and a half from now, we're still having this conversation. So whatever we can do to expedite the process, I'm absolutely good with.
Well, we've already approved the talking to the carriers in the consent agenda. Now what we're doing is approving towers to go up to 125 feet.
Good.
Laura?
I was at Horizon Council meeting, and there was a presentation by Comcast about helping areas that were struggling with connection. Did you get that message, Chris?
Yeah, well, Comcast, some places, like a lot of portion of Bonita Bay, the only way you get use your cell phone is through the internet connection. So I assume that's what Comcast is talking about. But no, I didn't.
No, they're actually going to areas that, well, according to the Justin DeMarco, they are actually going to areas that are lacking service, providing service, and in some cases providing computers. And so they're.
Well, yeah, that's for internet service, and that's in typically underserved rural areas where they're providing the capability for those areas to now tap into internet. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about cell phones, and towers for cell service.
In what particular area?
All of Bonita Springs, because there's very poor cell service, depending upon where you are. For example, there's people in my district that in order to use a cell phone to connect to a cell tower, they have to go out in the front yard. And so, if you have a heart attack, it's a hard thing to do.
Right. Well, I know that traveling, for instance, on Vanderbilt Drive and Wiggins Pass, it's a dead zone. And I'm always like, oh, why did I make a phone call? Because I know I'm going to lose it. But then the folks in those buildings that are on the West Coast, beautiful Gulf, they put their own towers on top of the buildings. So they solve their problems. So is it Bonita Bay that's having a problem, or is it? Cause
It's also, it's various parts of the city, so.
The entire city. If you go out in the parking lot right now and try to put on your Waze, it may or may not come on. If you go downtown,
We're
same
not-
situation.
Yeah, it's not our money, Laura. We're just making it possible for carriers to construct taller towers so that they can broadcast a better signal. That's all we're doing.
At their expense.
And we don't even know what the deal looks like. I mean, honestly, we could, depending if it's all on city land, we could come up, now we have, it's financial stream. and
Again,
we have
that's a different thing from this, but Jim?
Jesse, just as a reference, my community in Hunters Ridge was approached by a third-party cell tower provider. I believe they're tied to Sprint. I can't remember exactly who. This came up probably 6, maybe 9 months ago. They're still in negotiations contractually in terms of reaching the point. And basically, the details of that, if you want that, I can set that up, a dialogue with our HOA representative and just talk about. But we're taking the action to see if we can get that in. Just for information purposes, it is a revenue stream to the community based upon the usage of that cell tower. So we'll see what happens on that, and I think it's something that Fred may have started at a surface level maybe 3-4 months ago, but right now we're still haggling through the contract right now.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt a 125-foot.
Second.
It'll come back as a land development order.
Yeah.
We actually have the ordinance prepared. You'll see it in the beginning of it.
So do we need to vote on it or just bring it back?
Well, I think it's just consensus to bring it back as an ordinance.
Consensus.
Okay, so everybody's in favor of bringing it back. Okay.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, item C. Approve a resolution reappointing or reappointing members of the City of Bonita Springs Local Planning Agency.
So moved.
Well, the
Vacancy.
between 2 and 3 years ago, I know we started talking about combining the LPA and the zoning. But I know that's going to take a little longer than we have time for. So I'm not sure if we want to appoint anybody.
I could
right now. I mean, we need to reappoint the people that are on there because we have to have the LPA and the zoning going while we look at this. But
That's something to think about moving forward with.
well, yeah. So I mean, I'm thinking maybe not appointing a new member while we look at this and figure out how much time it's going to take to do this. Jesse, you clicked first.
Yes, sir. Since you brought this up, I was going to speak about zoning on my member items, but it seems more appropriate during this time period. So a couple things that I thought might be beneficial for us to at least have a discussion on regarding our zoning process. The first one, and again, this is, since we can't talk about this out of council, I'm just trying to, thoughts I'm having that maybe you'll agree or not agree. But first one is first reading being more like second reading, so that there's a more efficient and expedited process. So if they present and they answer questions at the first reading, that gives more time to actually take into account the needs of the community and the council member and mayor's thoughts and processes to actually get to a second reading that is a more palatable, votable option for everybody. So all of the serious stuff up front, now if we pack the place, now people have the ability to ask the questions and they can be responded to. And then we have the 2 weeks. So instead of, it's winner take all for second reading and first reading doesn't mean anything, now we can actually have more productive dialogue, and I think it speeds up the process. So a thought on zoning. With that, also, there is two other small things in there. Number one, we have a thing with our streets, our full streets. What is it? Complete streets. Okay. So you're allowed to pay in lieu of for complete streets down here. So we took a huge initiative, especially in the downtown 2 and 5 specifically area, to make sure we had complete streets on projects. Now we still have within our own zoning the ability for them to pay money to not connect the streets. So, and then when people do that, we get mad. We have one that's going to be coming up shortly, you'll see. And whenever that comes up, inevitably people are like, well, why would they do that? And they get mad. Well, they're using our own code against us. So if we don't like the idea that you can pay extra money and not complete streets, let's change the zoning so that it's not a requirement, or it's not an option, it's a requirement. Also, I had a thought in regards to preventing septic on new development. So, I mean, these are all three different things that merit their own individual conversation, all zoning related, however. So I don't know if having an overall holistic zoning conversation is the appropriate process or what, but with what you're saying, not moving forward, I agree, because I think that there's ways that we could, as a council, make our zoning a lot more efficient and productive for the community. And, you know, I welcome any thoughts on any of those three, but that's three off the top of my head with zoning where we could.
Well, okay, we can do an item on it at a future meeting to discuss things like that. But right now, more of just staying on topic of, are we okay with not appointing a new person on there and
Well,
reappointing all the current
Mr.
members?
Mayor, and I think I'm next on the list.
Yeah.
We asked for applicants, and it is hard to get people to apply to do what some might say a thankless job, and it can be tedious. And we have 2 applicants, and so then why ask? And actually, one applicant I know is here, and I think she has a right to present, and who knows what will happen with the folks on the board. People move, you know, stuff happens, and I think if we have a vacancy, we should fill it. And then when we get around, I mean, I started trying to combine the boards 4 years ago. It may take another 4 years, so why not at least have a functioning board that you can get a quorum? Because right now, it's 6-6. Right, so there's 6 people. So you could have a tie, and there's no decision. So why not, if the applicants are here, there's 2, James Novak and Tammy Hartford. I think that we should consider it.
Mr. Mayor, I know I'm on the list somewhere, but.
Yeah.
I want to actually echo and support Councilwoman Carr's point. The statutorily, after Hurricane Ian, we could not impose any new policies or restrictions in the land use arena. That extension has been made out to October of 2026. So there's going to be a long period of time in which these members could be on board. There could be members who drop off. We could have tie votes. And if the council decides ultimately to go towards the mega board as was adopted in Estero, you will be pulling members from those existing boards probably to fill that. And so even given that, some of the members, I think when these conversations first started a few years ago, there were some members who were thinking to drop off. They have continued to stay on. So because of the way our code works and because some of these are statutorily required, we need to make sure that we have membership going at least until a point where we can make the change.
Okay, well, then maybe we consider adding, and with the understanding that, you know, all the seats might not be there down the road. I guess 2026 is the earliest we can actually do something?
October 2026, although there is talk of.
But we could plan
a
everything
bill
ahead
to
of time.
change things, yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, so then, I guess let's, are both applicants here, or just one?
Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I am Tammy Hartford. I'm a local real estate agent. I am new to the area. I moved here in 2021, and I have always been involved with my local community. And since moving here, I'm very excited to get involved here. I have recently volunteered at Fiesta Bonita Springs. That was one of the things that I did here, which was about honoring the National Heritage Month here. So that was one thing that I did, and I'm looking forward to helping, you know, in the community wherever I can. I've had background in Habitat for Humanity, as well as art walks and festivals and such like that with my past communities. So I definitely am ready to hit the ground running and help out where I can here in Bonita Springs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy.
Well, yeah, originally I was planning on not appointing anybody just because I thought it was gonna be kinda soon, and I thought it would be kinda mean to appoint somebody just to have the thing get, you know, disappear on them in a short amount of time, but, so I guess we should appoint somebody, and, is there a motion?
So moved.
Well, there's two people to choose from, so.
Oh, I would say Tammy.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call?
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon. Aye. Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
And that was to reappoint the others
Yes.
as well. Good. Okay. Item C, or D, approve a resolution appointing, reappointing members to the Bonita
Motion
Springs.
to approve?
Second.
Okay. Roll call
This will be then reappointing the three existing members, correct?
on the zoning board.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye. All right. City attorney items.
All right, and thank you for that, for allowing me to interrupt earlier, Mr. Mayor. And just for, the council's edification, the statute originally had provided that October 2024 would be the deadline, so it had been extended since then. So that, I think that the thought process was correct not to consider additional appointments, but that has now been extended for additional 2-year term. What I have before you is a request for rehearing under Section 4-54 of the code. Back at your second November meeting, speaking of land use items, there was a first reading and public hearing on a planned development of 8 acres at Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Staff did not have an opportunity to present or was not asked to present. There was a staff report, and the application were continued in the record for consideration. There were some members of the public who had concerns and had testified. It was not moved to second reading. The applicant was not present at the meeting. Their counsel is here today, Mr. Wright. They have submitted a formal request for rehearing, and I am recommending that if you proceed to have a rehearing to allow the full presentation to be made for due process reasons, I would start with a new first hearing and second hearing, and we can go along the lines that Councilman Purdon addressed, which is to have a full hearing at the first opportunity. And this would be at your February meeting if you decide to move forward.
So moved.
Okay, is there a
Do I
second?
have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purdon. Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Thank you. I have nothing additional, Mr. Mayor.
All right. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have the city's lobbyist, Hayden Dempsey, available virtually as well. We wanted to bring back the final draft of the legislative agenda and then also attach, so we did provide the revisions as stated in the last meeting to discuss environmentally sensitive lands, including, we also included under stormwater management, Helene, Milton, and any future storm activity. We asked for the enhancement of transportation connection of pedestrian-friendly implementations and complete streets. And then as well as you do have the legislative appropriations requests. I know Hayden might want to provide a little bit additional information. We were shared the House appropriations application as well as the Senate appropriations application. They are very similar to grant applications. We would need to provide information on the match and the total funding of the project. I did speak to Village Manager Steve Sarkozy. Their meeting was today, and they saw fit not to put a specific dollar amount or appropriation, but I understand they're making it their number one legislative priority, their top priority, but they are not seeking an appropriation at this time. But Hayden can provide more information on that as well.
Question. Is that because they were told by the House that without the matches, it doesn't move?
I can't, I know that there's representatives from Burt here, but I did have a conversation with Representative Botana. He didn't discourage submitting anything, but there is going to be a House process, and and what we're understanding is that there will be a rule of a 50% match for the ask. So the application can go in, I just don't know where it goes to the next steps. I think the thoughts, from my understanding, the strategy from Village Manager Sarkozy was that without locking in a dollar amount, they would navigate through whatever process became available through the legislature, and not putting in it as, so there could be different departments that look at it as well.
Any other?
Yeah, I attended, and Jesse and Laura was there the second day. The Florida Legislative, and we went to the first meeting, and they stated that unless the projects are not shovel-ready, or if they're shovel-ready, then they shouldn't even go on your appropriations request. So they say there's not a lot of funding going out this year, and so it shouldn't go on the request unless it's shovel-ready. I know how important Burt is, and I do agree that it should go in our legislative priorities, but I think to put it in our request at 20 million, I just don't think that that's appropriate. I think it should definitely be listed under our priorities, but not as an ask.
Laura?
I kind of echo what Jamie's saying in that at MPO, we've been told no money. Like Old 41 was going to be expanded, right? Not happening. There are so many projects that are just not happening because there's no money. And like Jamie, this Burt is so important for, just leisure, but also for our workers. I mean, that's a safe way for many to get to work. But again, we want to be considered for key projects, and if we throw something out there that's over the top, then we get diminished somehow. And that's my worry, is that we are lowered on, oh, forget it, they're, reaching for the moon and they can't get it, so let's just discard everything that they're asking for. So I think that we really need to be focused on what's possible. And the word is, it's not possible. That's the feedback that I'm getting from MPO, FDOT. While they love it, there's no money for it. So we have to think through what we want to do as strategically as an ask. And I don't know, do they count it against you if you do something out off the top and want something? No. Or do they not? I don't know.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jess, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we can still help Burt move the ball forward. I think that, not to skip around on the agenda, but the next item is going to give clarity on where we're at with that. And I think letting our state legislators see, or I'm sorry, is it the next one? That connects to Sun Trail, correct? Or that connects to Burt, right? Yep. So, we can still have a united message in front for Burt to our legislators that this is something that we want, and as dollars start to open up, we can, if there's an opportunity, we can advocate for those. I think we can, simultaneously give them the things that we want and give them that letter, and that way we're not committing ourselves to the 20 million because we don't have the match. So we're still being supportive to them, and we'll continue to be supportive to them throughout the process in any way that we possibly can, but then we're not committing ourselves to a match that we just don't have at this point. Because Jamie said it perfectly. So they had, one of the top lobbyists from Tallahassee at League of Cities, and essentially they were like, hey, how many of you guys have projects? And they're all like, everybody raised their hand. And then they're like, how many of those projects are shovel ready? And about, half of the room now raise their hand. They're like, okay, so you guys are the ones that need to, those are the ones that need to go in, because the rest of them, if they are not shovel ready projects, are not gonna get dollars in this session. That's on their, that's an opinion of a lobbyist. That doesn't mean that that's what's gonna happen, but understanding that that may be the case, I think we can still submit the things that we want and still be supportive of them at the same time with both of our senators, with Botana and anybody else. And then as dollars materialize, hopefully we can capture some. I mean, we never saw East Terry dollars coming, and we've got a check upstairs for $20 million that we didn't see coming. So, I mean, there's an opportunity, that maybe we can be a champion for them, but I think we can still be an advocate for them without hurting ourselves at the same time.
Jamie, then Nigel, then Chris.
Mr. Dempsey's on the line, right? So if he can tell us that, yes, you have to have a match, then it doesn't need to, it can't be there if we can't match it, correct?
Fair.
Hayden, can you hear
Good
us?
evening, council members. Would you like me to address that?
Yes, please.
So the House has a rule that requires a 50% match. The additional challenges that you have is that $20 million is only a fraction of what is needed. And so unless there was some possibility of purchasing this land piece by piece, the legislature, I don't think, is going to see the value in just setting aside $20 million, 10 of which will be coming from the city if you had that match. Without all the other local governments participating to actually complete the purchase, from the legislature's perspective, it's really not accomplishing anything other than parking money. So it's, given the posture that you're in right now, I think it would be highly unlikely that the legislature would agree to an appropriation that wasn't going to complete the purchase. Having it as a legislative priority, I think, is helpful because and the Trust for Public Land has been lead on this. There are other avenues that they have explored in terms of other funding that could possibly be used. And so I think, that those efforts can still go forward. I think the coalition, the group that is supporting this project, can still work on it this session. We can work cooperatively with them. We can let them know that this is not a single city. This is not, this is a regional project, which is why it's not I don't think anybody's putting it in as an appropriation request. But nonetheless, it's still very important to the municipalities, the counties, et cetera. And there may be other options for other funding outside of just kind of the normal direct appropriations process.
Thank you, Hayden. Good. Nigel?
Jamie, were you done?
Yeah, for now, I think.
So Hayden, I've got a question. We were talking strategy. So last year, Jesse and Jamie and Chris and I, besides our walking tour, had a really hard lesson that we learned up in Tallahassee, which was first-time asks are the first ones to go away. We know how important this project is, and it's not just leisure, and it's not just a convenient transportation mode. We talk about our kids being important, the safety of 11 schools becoming a highway for the kids in the mornings and the afternoon, but our downtown business associates, how important it is to them, and on and on and on. If we put the ask on there, and I want to make it very clear, we have no commitment from a private entity, but we have one private entity for sure that may be interested in supporting this. I think it's important that we let them know as well that we're making it a priority. And Hayden, I'd love your comments on that. If we knew that there was, I'm just throwing a figure out, there was $20 million of private money that might be available to us and committed within a period of 6 to 8 months. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the the magic number is going to be 41 million. And that, which is a 50% match of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about $82 million project. And so there would have to be 41 for that match. It's certainly helpful, but.
Well, my thought is if we knew if that money came available and there was the city of Estero, the city of Bonita Springs, Naples, if more monies came into the pool, then we're looking at a very, not a significant shortfall. Maybe then it gets taken to more consideration or into more consideration. Just asking for your advice.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that improves the math quite a bit, improves the likelihood. The more, local charitable dollars that can be brought to the table, any little bit helps.
Thanks, Mike.
Chris?
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to do is to be all on the same page with the partners in this. And right now, that's Estero and Collier County. And so if Estero is going forward without a specific request, then I suggest that maybe that's what we need to do. I don't know that we need to do anything separate and apart from that. We still have people working on our behalf at the legislative level. One of the things that Senator Pasadomo was told by the Lee County Commission was that, the price was too high, that the appraisal wasn't supported. Well, it was done by an independent appraiser, and she's an experienced real estate attorney. So she was forwarded a copy of that appraisal, and she's taking a look at it to push back at Lee County. And if she thinks it's too high, then we'll push back. We'll talk to Trust for Public Land and say, well, I guess we do need to push back on the Fay family. But so let's not do anything that undercuts what Martin and Botana and Pasadomo are doing for us. But let's keep it, and Bert, obviously Bert, and Trust for Public Lands. So I would suggest we just go forward much like Estero did at this point, and we'll figure this out as we go forward.
Yep. Arlene?
Just to clarify, I think one of the thoughts behind Manager Sarkozy's thought is that we're not locked into a specific number, exactly what you're saying, Councilmember Corey, so that you can navigate other opportunities, because that number could change, and then there's a discussion of whether we would look at just a phase one, which would include unincorporated Collier, Bonita, and Estero, which would, if there's a ability to purchase just a phase one, what does that dollar look like and what negotiation happens there? So I think that was the thought. The other idea is that if the other projects we have do get funded or other appropriations, which you already have the match available to, that frees up additional general fund money for a larger, policy discussion to council for when your opportunities become available. But we were concerned in making sure we let you all know that as far as we understand, unincorporated Collier at this time is not putting in a legislative appropriation request, and neither is the Village of Estero. But if we make it a part of our legislative agenda and a priority, then we would be consistent with the Village of Estero.
Jesse?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we know which commissioner has the Northern Collier portion of this? And I'm curious, because the only reason I'm asking that is because it's important for us to find out, because I don't know whether the dollars would be transferable for this or not, but they have a project down there called Conservation Collier, where essentially they have a huge bank that they use to acquire public lands, and it generally has to be for green space or environmental purposes. Whether this would fit or not, I'm not sure, but finding out who the commissioner for that portion of Collier is would be important, because then you can ask them to see if these would be appropriate funds for the Conservation Collier side. So then at least we have at least a piece of it started down in Collier, or at least get the ball rolling down there, anyway.
Does our attorney know who that person is?
I'm looking at it.
I knew that's what you were doing.
They have single-member districts in Collier.
Yeah. I think it used to be,
But didn't Collier say
Solis.
they didn't want any?
District 2?
They
Yeah,
weren't
it
going
used to be Solis.
contribute at all?
They just did a redistricting.
Was it?
Oh.
Hall,
They
Chris
need
Hall,
to,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
because they
said-
want to finish Veterans Parkway.
Yeah. It might be Chris Hall. Either way.
Unincorporated Collier County staff, the Collier County staff has been participating in the conversations along the way.
So Land for Public Trust is here. You heard the conversation. Maybe you might follow up on that.
So,
I believe it is Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Hall, Chris Hall.
so moving forward without the $20 million ask, just,
I would like to confirm that probably in a vote, because this is the priorities that will be forwarded to Representative Esposito's office in anticipation of the January 9th meeting. But I want to confirm that everyone was comfortable, the council was comfortable with the changes we made to both the legislative agenda as well, the verbiage that we used based on the feedback we received last meeting.
Motion?
well, Chris?
Well, if we're done talking about the railroad right-of-way right now, the other issue I wanted to bring up was, obviously, we've got the Wonder Gardens, and we own the property and so forth. The Wonder Gardens has some things that they would like to submit, and, I don't know that I've seen the specific list. I don't know if you have, Nicole, but, how do we want to handle legislative requests that benefit the Wonder Gardens, which is, we haven't, or at least, do we want to
Which we
include?
own.
Yeah, which we own. Do we
Weren't they
wanna-
supposed to provide us with numbers?
And traditionally, nonprofits do it.
Well, they've,
So what may be, starting in the beginning of the year, I think we discussed with Neil where we needed to be having a presentation to council. I don't think that precludes you through the process to offer a letter of support. I think one question that did come up from their staff, not Neil, from their staff, is whether our lobbyists would be advocating for their specific ask. I think that until the presentation happens to council, we'll try to do that early in the new year. A letter of support should be sufficient
Okay.
as well, because I think the concern you might have, and this is a policy call of council, is that you have other nonprofits operating within the city that do go not only state legislative appropriations, but they do federal legislative appropriations. When we were working with Congressman Donald's office, it was a new process this year. We were hand in hand with Bonita Charities doing the same thing.
well,
I think you
I
wanna-
just bring it up because we have a lessee
Yep.
that has identified certain things that, on behalf of the lessor, us, they're wanting to ask for legislative support and, see if there's any dollars available for that. So it's just, how do we want to handle it? I mean,
Without detracting
think-
from everything else we're asking for.
So if the letter of support's the best way to go for that, then I would assume that's what we would do.
I think we need a presentation with an update, 'cause Nicole will be reaching out, and then on the conclusion of that, you can direct a letter of support from staff as appropriate, and then we can share that with our lobbyists, but that would be on the nonprofit's ability to advocate.
sounds like a plan.
Yeah, and as far as the legislative agenda, as long as this is the best way to get money for Bert, then
Yep. So I'll make a motion to adopt the legislative priorities with the way in which we discussed supporting Bert and looking forward to the presentation by the Wonder Gardens.
Second?
To clarify, the language says we take that from a legislative appropriation request and move that to legislative priority, correct, Chris?
If I understand correctly, number 5, Bonita Estero Trail, that is being adopted as a legislative priority, and then we're removing Bonita Estero Trail acquisition at 20 million, which is specifically an appropriation request.
and on that, it says approximately 6 miles in Bonita, but we're supportive of the whole thing. So,
Correct.
I mean, should we put acquiring the whole thing and
I
not
think,
just.
I think it would be, because some of your matches have been the 6 miles, we say the 6 miles and the trail in its entirety. That would be appropriate to add.
Can you clarify this for us, Arlene? Phase 1 was 11 miles?
11.4 is what I'm being advised. Advised.
Thanks for the point 4.
And what I do understand is that there is an option to move forward that's been presented at some point in time to the phase, so they're aware of that is an option as a phase 1.
Yeah, as long as we're doing it just as the top part. I'd like to see verbiage for the whole thing in there too. That way they know we really want the whole thing.
The whole thing as opposed to phase 1, or the whole thing as?
Well, I mean, we want the whole thing.
Okay.
Because this is like a wish list. So I mean, we want the whole thing. We may settle for something smaller to start with, but we want the whole thing. So. All right, roll call.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Purden.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Thank you. My next item, staff participated in a conference call with the director of the MPO regarding and representative from Burt and Village of Estero. There is a request that the city participate in a funding opportunity through the MPO. We understand that the Village of Estero will be taking the lead on this process. They've also agreed at an interim to provide for the management and maintenance of the trail phase 1 in its entirety until future discussions can happen between all entities and/or an outside agency takes over that role. But in order to keep that application forward, they're asking for our participation at this time. It does require match, and so we needed some direction from council on that as well. And again, I think I'd like to clarify a little bit, as we've discussed the 5 million that we have, we've been pledging it to different, of course, that would all come back to council should any approval happen. I also think maybe at this time we need some clarification, because the 5 million was dedicated for all Sun Trail projects within the city. I think I would like to understand is to either fortify that as the direction, or are we wanting to transfer that to just Burt? Because that was a question asked of us as well, of what is the intent of the 5 million. So it was approved it was approved as all Sun Trails in the city, so that you have opportunities at different, for example, the coastal connection, should you want to make an enhancement there. But we have been earmarking these for Burt, so if you're comfortable leaving it as that definition where you still have that flexibility, we're fine with that. We just wanted to make sure we were providing that direction properly. Because it has been said that it was just Burt, and I wanted to clarify the direction of council.
No,
Well,
clarified.
And then, so I think we'd like to know if you'd like our participation in this application that the MPO is doing with Estero as the lead and us as a support agent, and then are you wishing to be providing matching funds as well?
Can I ask a question on that? And I'm in favor, for the record, but as far as who's lead on the application, are there any positive or negative ramifications of it being them instead of us, or vice versa?
I think there was, the discussion is there is a need immediately to determine, it's part of the application process, to determine the maintenance and operation. And they are willing as an interim to take on that responsibility till we can further agree.
there's a deadline for the grant request.
Correct, it was a deadline for the grant application. And I think there has to be further discussion with Collier County as well.
And how did the grant go for the one that we applied for earlier?
There's been several grants applied for. There's one that we don't have result on, but I also understand, I was under the impression the first one was an MPO ask, and Don Scott clarified that last time it wasn't an official ask that went forward, that was presented before. Because I think some of the issues were the maintenance and operation plan and other technicalities. So this is the actual official ask.
And so it doesn't take away from Sun Trails we're keeping it the same, we're focusing on connectivity and bike trails and cycling and pedestrian.
Well, this is specific to the Sun Trail application for the railroad corridor, and they're asking it to be implemented on the plan. And so there was some certain requirements, and that's why I understand that the village offered to take the lead on that.
So it doesn't detract from Bert in any way?
No, it helps.
No, I don't believe it detracts from Bert. That's not my understanding.
Great.
The other item while we're on this is just, I am aware there is a federal grant application that the Trust for Public Lands is working on. And so I think from my understanding is we had previously said that other grants that become available, we would have staff collaborate on those as best we can. And so I think I just want to make you aware of that, any direction. If there's a requirement of a match or some other ask, that will need to come back to council on our January 15th meeting.
Sounds good.
Great.
Do we need to do, it was just direction to staff, right? So we're good on this
I
one?
believe I have the direction. Well, I think if there is a match, there's a match fund request for the Sun Trail application to the MPO, so that I would need a vote on, because you'd be
Which is
pledging
what?
the dollars. I believe Village of Estero has a dedicated $5 million. I believe that is the ask. Previously, you had dedicated 1.2 million, but, and I think we matched that with the Village of Estero on the previous application. But Village has, I believe, approved this morning 5 million, so, so I think that would be the ask.
I'll make a motion to approve the 5 million.
Second.
Roll call?
Deputy Mayor Purden.
Aye.
Councilmember Carr.
Aye.
Mayor Gibson.
Aye.
Councilmember Corey.
Aye.
Councilmember Fullick.
Aye.
Councilmember Fitzpatrick.
Aye.
Councilmember Bogas.
Aye.
All right, item C.
Item C, thank you. As a reminder, we did postpone this issue from the last meeting. There's no urgency, anything in particular, but if it's up to the pleasure of council. I know it's been a little bit of an evening, so we are. One thing I could add to this is that I will be asking for January 15th. It is a day meeting. If we could adjourn as regular council and then go into a strategic planning session. So if that makes more appropriate conversation for this to happen then, I'm happy to do that. Or if you'd like to move forward with the appointments this evening, we're ready to take whichever action council prefers.
Request to defer.
Request,
Second.
motion to defer.
Second.
We won't have to vote on it, we just choose them, because in a workshop, we wouldn't be able to vote, right?
No voting in workshop
Yeah.
unless you want to identify the meeting as a special meeting as well, in which case you would take public, you would have a public comment.
I think I'd prefer to keep it a workshop so that it can have an open dialogue. I was not going to want motion, and was not anticipating public comment at several times so that there could be more free flow of conversation to work through some issues.
I was just asking, do we have to vote on when we figure out who's gonna be the liaison to everything?
If we get sufficient direction from you at the meeting to mark, then the actual vote could happen the next meeting, as long as you agree by consensus of which your appointment is from the workshop, you could start taking on those roles as liaison. Is there anything with the MPO that requires a formal application?
I'll push it through, don't worry about that. For purposes of the way we've done this in the past, especially if there's a lot of discussion and people want to check their schedules, it's very difficult to make the full selections during an active board meeting, because we've seen in cases we have a number of boards, alternates, all these positions. It would be much easier if you could have the conversation and then confirm with everyone that their availability for the schedules of the various boards and liaisons, and then we would just add it as a consent item. And if there needed to be discussion about changing up some of the order, we could do it at a meeting. So I think the workshop is a much better way of handling things. And there are, for purposes like MPO, there are no meetings scheduled for some period of time, so we're in good shape.
The other part of the discussion of the workshop is there may be some additions or removals of committees, so before appointing folks to the liaisons, I wanted some feedback from you all on that as well.
Okay, sounds good. We're punting.
Deferring.
Deferring.
Tomato, tomato.
Moving on.
You do have a copy of the presentation of the preliminary fiscal year report. We're happy to provide a presentation or keep a record as filed. That's up to council.
Move to record as filed. Second.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sorry, Lisa.
Lisa's not sorry.
All right,
The last one, if you would allow me to have Ellie to come forward. This is informational item. It is important for the public, and then we will be providing this on our website as well, from the Division of Emergency Management regarding residential mitigation, Elevate Florida. And I do know, at a minimum, some of individual council members have been getting questions about this, so we want to be just very brief, provide an update.
Good evening. Will be brief, I promise. And this is information only. There's no direction needed. The state surprisingly announced that they're taking charge of 3 different areas in the mitigation process. Elevation is one, acquisition, demolition is the other, and then finally residential reconstruction. And while I don't know specifically this is the reason for doing that, I can tell you that those 3 grant applications are typically left up to each jurisdiction following a disaster. So a lot of jurisdictions statewide have said, you know, elevations are very difficult to do. We don't want to do that. They shy away from different things. And so there were a lot of constituents statewide that were not getting the opportunity to have FEMA come in and help reconstruct their home, or to elevate their home, or for the individual to sell their home to FEMA. And so the state has taken on that responsibility. It's in its infancy, and so there are not a lot of clear understanding of what the process is. They have told us that any applicants that we have received for any of these 3 programs, we should forward their information to them. I personally have received about 20 inquiries just for the city of Bonita Springs, obviously, and I have collected those names, sent them to Lee County EOC, who's collecting from all of the jurisdictions, and will be forwarding the information to the Division of Emergency Management. There is as the process goes on, I think we'll get more and more answers, but this is kind of an interim period right now. And so what I have been telling people who have inquired about elevations after last Friday is that there's a website that they go to, and then they sign up, and someone from the state will give them a call. So I just wanted to make sure you were all aware. I know you're out in the community, and if you get inquiries, I'm still more than welcome. I'd be happy to take the information, pass it on, or I'm happy to also provide the website address where they go and sign up.
Just a question. So people can sign up online now. The people that have already signed up with us or with the county, are they going to have preference before the people that are signing up now online? And then also, do you know if they're clawing back any money? Because I think what we in the county were going to use was the money that was given to us from FEMA. So are they taking some of that pool of money back to do this? Or does the county now have it to allocate to other things?
Those are very interesting questions that we don't have the answer to. At one point, we had a conversation with FDM, and there were 12 or 15 questions that we asked. They were able to answer 2 of them.
Okay. Well, if we find out, just let me know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That dovetails into my second item under the update is that part of that continuing discussion and the help with the disaster recovery is that we're looking for a representative of the city to be on the Lee County Disaster Advisory Board. We're recommending a staff member as that the other jurisdictions have appointed staff as well to their boards. Of course, we're recommending Ellie to be our liaison, and then she would give you briefings along the way, and should there be any action of council or recommendations, we would bring them forward to you to make formal action on.
So moved, yay.
Well, wait a minute, being as we love Ellie, do we want to do that to her?
I know.
I will tell you, I fight quite hard
No.
in those meetings for every penny that we deserve.
And you're great at it. Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Chris, because he'd already worked on the task force thing, so this is good, if you want to, that is. I just
Yeah,
feel
but
like,
is it better for staff?
It's,
well, no, I thought it was Chris and Ellie, no?
No.
Oh, there's only
No,
one?
it's one.
Oh, my
Just
bad,
one,
my bad,
yeah.
my bad, nope, I think Ellie's great, I think Ellie's great, nope.
I believe for efficiencies, it may be, it might be more beneficial and for communication to all of council to have a staff member to participate.
Agreed.
I just have a couple announcements.
Thank you, Ellie.
Oh, sorry. To conclude my items, I just wanted to reiterate, you should have received an email on December 20th. The Bonita Springs Community Policing will be doing their annual Shop with a Cop. It is all Bonita elementary schools, but I've also been made aware of the possibility of some special needs students at Bonita High School might be included as well in an earlier outreach. But at around 4 p.m. at the Target at Coconut Point, and all of council is welcome to participate. There will be media coverage of the event as well. And then
What day is that?
Friday the 20th, and then on December 21st is the Cafe of Life's annual toy giveaway, which is also done in conjunction with the Bonita Springs Fire District and Bonita Springs Community Policing, and there will be Santa's escort and arrival to our park, to our community park there as well. And that's approximately, you'd want to be there approximately 9:30, 10 o'clock for those activities. I would like to thank everyone who attended the city's staff luncheon. I really appreciate all of council participating, be there, because it really does, I did give a lot of feedback that it meant a lot to our staff to have you all there. And Councilmember Folk, I know you had something that came up when we did share that with folks, so.
I got no turkey.
And Jane was unable to join us being under the weather, but next year there'll be plenty more turkey. And just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you all for your service to the city and to our staff. It's been, you know, we've continued to work through many challenges and trying to keep everything as successful as we can. And so I appreciate all their hard work throughout the year as well. And then I did touch on that January 15th. I would like to make that a strategic planning session afterwards, and I would like to bring in a facilitator so that we can help reestablish. We have not actually done this since I think about 2018, reestablish the strategic priorities, make sure they're completely in line with the goals of council, and then there's many specific topics that each of you have expressed kind of diving a little deeper into, so this could be the start of that, which would then lead on to some additional workshops, which we usually do typically in the beginning of the year, and then we'll be beginning our CIP workshops as well prior to council meetings to start.
And will zoning and the other boards be invited, or this is just council?
So this would be, the first one I would recommend would be a meeting of, the topics would be just city council discussion items so that you can provide priorities to us that you want further either workshops on. So it would be appropriate if zoning was a deeper dive and you wanted to invite that board for a joint meeting, that could stem off of this original meeting.
Great. And we appreciate you so much, too.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor and council member reports. Jamie?
Just a few things. Florida League of Cities also said that it was important for outreach to our representatives even prior to them going to Tallahassee. So I think that's important for us all to do. But also, I know we talked about going up there earlier, making 2 trips this year. I don't know how early we can set those dates or look at them. You can talk to Hayden. I just really would like to have some time so I can make sure I have it off so I can be available to go. So if we can get that scheduled, I don't know, like I said, how soon we can do it. And thank you. The luncheon was great. It was nice seeing everybody, and thank you for inviting us. And happy birthday. Happy anniversary, Bonita Springs. Thank all the former council members, current, all our city employees, past and present, and of course, importantly, our residents of Bonita Springs that make us have such an amazing city. So happy anniversary and happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you. Jim?
A week ago, Tuesday, I had the opportunity to do a introductory meeting with Commissioner Malika. And at that meeting, we had a variety of discussions about all my little county roads that sit out on the east side. And he basically followed up at the end and offered up being willing to come down and do a town hall with both my district as well as the whole city. And I'd like to go ahead and ask permission to work with Arlene and her staff to see if we can get something set up for the first quarter to bring him down for an hour, hour and a half to go ahead and share a state of the county and also open himself up to questions from the community about Lee County and what's going on, their priorities.
Good idea. I think we should probably do the whole city, though.
Well, that's basically, I talked to Arlene about that, and I'd just like to go ahead and, she can publish it, she can set the infrastructure up and all that good stuff, so. Second thing is holiday wishes to everyone in the city, council, staff. This has been an interesting process this year, and I'm looking for a healthy and prosperous 2025 for all of us as well as the community around us.
Thank you. Jesse?
Not much. As far as the zoning stuff that I touched on earlier, possibly that should be a workshop. I hate to create more workshops. Maybe it can be combined with another one that we have coming, so we don't have to do a whole nother public second meeting. But those were just those were back of the napkin ideas of how we could efficiently make the process better. So if you guys would think about those, I'd definitely appreciate that. And then I would just say thank you to the staff. We've had a great year. You guys have done some great things, and heading into the Christmas season, just know that we're very appreciative of you and all your efforts on behalf of us and on behalf of the city and making us look good. So appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Nigel?
Yes, sir. First of all, again, thanks to my fellow councilmen for the support on the school, and I know we're not done. And I would share with you that, again, if we can reiterate to everybody that if they would please utilize us now as their mouthpiece, because we are the ones doing all the talking. So I'm appealing to the folks on the Historical Society and the Historical Board, again, to utilize staff and us. Second thing is, I don't want to forget, there was someone not here tonight, former Mayor Jay Arend, and I can tell you he wanted to be here. His wife, Amy, she's had a little bit of a rough patch, so that's why he could not be here tonight. But I'm pretty sure they're watching, so want them to know that we all here wish them well. And to staff and to our community, Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year.
Laura?
Oh, just ditto to everybody. It's been a long night. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Anniversary to Bonita Springs, and well wishes for the next year.
Thank you. Chris?
Same. Just be kind to everybody and start out the new year, and hopefully it'll be better than 24.
Oh, it will be.
And I echo everybody's sentiments. Hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and Happy Anniversary to the city. Thank you. Public comment.
Nothing like somebody holding up you from your adjournment. I apologize. But first of all, I say thank you for your votes earlier tonight in regards to Bert. That really allows us to move forward. This is a tough project because it is pulling money from everywhere. One comment I'd like to address was being shovel-ready. Totally agree. Everyone likes to see shovel-ready. But how you position this is this property is under contract right now. You can't build the house or do the design until you own the land. And so we need to buy the land first. Then we can proceed with the design and then the construction. Sun Trail does recognize acquisition. And so that's what's important. So if they ask you if it's shovel ready, it's ready to be bought. Yeah. And I think that's important that we promote that as we go forward. And then totally agree with the state. They do like to see these local matches. And the reason being is if the locals aren't in, why should the state be? This is your community project. And the way you say you're in is usually with your money. And you've done that. And I appreciate it and allows us to move forward. Your MPO is in with the Sun Trail ask. The appropriations, we can work through that. What the state has told me, your representatives, is we would like to see the locals in, and then we're in, because they support it as well. And if to do that, we have to phase it, that's fine. That's the way the Legacy Trail was built in Sarasota County. It was really in 2 to 3 phases. And so I think with what you did tonight, we can get a lot done. So thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. Any other comment? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We need one. Let's go.
Thank you.
So moved.
Good job, guys.
I know we were supposed to drive around.
God help you.
Maybe we
Yes,
do
sir.
after the
20,
meeting.
20, 25.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
oh, oh.
That's okay.
Yes, I don't know. Mine like continually beeps.
Yeah, do you want me to put it up somewhere?
I'm like, I don't
No, never.
My button is, look at,
Are you up there?
We shall see.
no, it looks like I'm, maybe it's because I hit it too much. They're just like, let's just keep it